Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name's Vit, and this is a bit of a different video than normal. I wanted to do a little bit of a channel update here and talk about my experience with the game over the past few weeks and what my plans are moving forward with this game. Because I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just that we're in the midst of, the first big content drought of the expansion or what. But I have just not been enjoying this game. I'm going to be fully honest with you. I'm going to, this is, I know this is going to be a long video where I rant and complain about the game, so buckle up. But I'll try to give you the TLDR, the short version of things up front here, so you don't have to listen to all that if you don't want. Um, but yeah, I had the epiphany, a week or two ago where I realized that I'm just not super excited for anything coming up this expansion, whether that's 7.1 next week or anything in the future. Um, I had it in my head that I was excited about all this stuff, but I came to the realization that like I'm just excited to have something to do in the game, but all of the particular content is kind of whatever to me at this point. It feels like, we've been there, done that on all of it, and it's just more of the same. And yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough to try to even express all of this. I've been thinking about all this over the past few days, trying to put it into words about how I feel. Long story short, I will be trying 7.1. I'm not up and closing up shop just yet. We're not quitting today. I'm still here. I'm still gonna play 7.1 next week, right? It seems stupid to quit the game right before then. But at the end of the day, like, there's not that much coming this expansion. Like, we've got Ultimate, we've got Extreme, we've got Unreal, we've got the Alliance raid. But it's again, like I said, more of the same. I can't bring myself to be overly excited about any of it. I know a lot of people are, and I'm not here in this video to convince you otherwise. I'm not here to say that the game's bad and that you shouldn't like it. I'm just explicitly sharing my own thoughts and feelings, but I'm going to play 7.1. I'm going to give it a shot and see how I feel. Does progging Extreme and Unreal rekindle my excitement for the game? Because then Ultimate's coming up 2 weeks later. Am I really prepared to commit to that time sink? Am I, like, if I'm feeling the way that I do right now, am I going to want to log on every day to prog Ultimate and try to get through that in a timely manner? Yeah, I don't know. That's to be determined. So that's the long and short of it. I've just been kind of, it's not even burnout because like I've been playing this game still, right? Like I still log in and like think like, okay, it's I did re-clears this week. I've been helping a friend's static with some T re-clears. We cleared T Ultimate like 4 times in the past 2 weeks on like 2 separate occasions. So, like I'm still having fun with the game. There's still stuff like I still love this game, right? Like I love the combat, I love my character and like the world and everything. But I'm just finding it harder and harder to get excited just about new stuff, about logging in, about doing the same stuff over and over again. It just feels like we're really rehashing the same stuff at this point, and it's just getting a bit tiring for me, and it has me questioning, is this where I want to be investing my time long term? Because again, we're looking at the remainder of this expansion, really. We're only at 7.1, which is the first patch, right? Second, if you want to count 7.05 or whatever. But like, man, there's a long ways to go in this expansion. Do I really want to commit all that time again? So we're going to get into that in this video, and I'm going to explain some of my thought processing. This is probably going to be a long video. I'm going to try to keep it short and not go on too many tangents, but this is going to be, I'm sure, a bit of a rant. So let's just jump right into it. Okay, so the first big thing that I really want to talk about here is what you've probably been hearing from everybody lately. This has been a bit of a hot topic, but it's the content drought and the cadence of the patch cycles in this game, and just the fact that, man, they move so slowly when it comes to releasing new content. Things are always further out than you would expect them to be, and a lot of the time it just really feels like there's nothing to do in this game. I get it. Right now, there is absolutely nothing to do. We're on like week 15 of Savage reclears here, but like, I don't know. This whole launch of Dawn Trail fell really flat for me, in my opinion. If you've been around for any amount of time, you know my thoughts on the story. I hated it. That basically killed all of the hype for me personally, and I really didn't expect to be missing the story as much as I am. Like with Endwalker, there was so much hype behind it. Like I remember, like I was new to the game at the start of Endwalker. I started like at the very end of Shadowbringers, but there was just so much hype about it. The story was so good. It was so much fun, like during this time period back in Endwalker at the start of the expansion, just like watching other people go through the story, watching their reactions, and, you know, watching them experience all those moments that you did. There's just none of that this time around, which is fine. Like, but like, you know, it just didn't have the same impact at launch, in my opinion. That's not the biggest deal in the world. Again, I didn't really think that would matter to me at all. But as we've gotten to this point, it's kind of hit me where it's kind of just seeped into the rest of the game for me. Where this game really is so story focused and, you know, world focused, character focused. When you take all of that away and take away the excitement that comes along with it, like, it does take a big chunk out of the game for me, and I assume a lot of other people as well. So that's just a little bit of it, but like, again, I'm a big combat guy. I like raiding. I like the end game stuff. And for the past 4 months, we've been doing 4 Savage fights, 2 extremes. I was done with those extremes months ago. I was done with the Savage fights months ago. I cleared them week 1 and have just been repeating them for, again, it's week 15 at the time of recording this. So, man, I've been doing the same fights for almost 4 months now. And it's just not the most exciting thing. And I know this is just how it goes, but I really feel like they just should have had something else at launch. I already leveled all my jobs to 100. I did all the fates. I've even been playing on a second character, my alt character. I leveled it, went through all the story, went through, you know, Savage, been doing my reclears every week on 2 characters, and it's still just like, man, I'm done in like 4 hours every week. And like literally have nothing to do. And it's interesting because this is the first time that I have legitimately had nothing to do in the game, because all throughout Endwalker, we were in the same boat here where, you know, you run out of stuff to do pretty quickly every single patch. Patches have like maybe a week of content most of the time. At least they did in Endwalker. Or at least it felt like it. I'm not going to be very particular about details here. I don't really care, frankly. So feel free to correct me on stuff, but just know I'm not worried about it. So if I get anything wrong. But in Endwalker, it was just like, I always had something in the backlog that I could go back and pick up. But I'm finally at the point in Dawn Trail here where there is literally nothing in the game left that I want to do. There's stuff I could do, sure. I could go solo deep dungeon. I could go do big fishing. I could go and do, you know, achievement hunting. I could grind out PvP for no reason. There's stuff out there. I could go back and do Eureka. I've never done that. But I kind of missed the boat on that, in my opinion. I don't really care anymore, frankly. I've done 4 out of the 5 ultimates, with the only one remaining being UCOB. And I think we can all agree that UCOB is a cool fight. It's a good fight, but it's also level 70 content at this point. You know, it's a little outdated, and it kind of falls over, and I don't think I would be, you know, feeling incredible if I clear UCOB at this point. I would just be like, okay, that's done. Now what? So I just haven't done that. I was kind of saving it for a rainy day. I was wanting to go do it at some point. I had just not gotten to it yet. But I'm not like jumping to go do that. I don't really care at this point. One day it'll happen if I continue playing the game, but you know, there's not a whole lot else to be doing. I do my Savage re-clears every week, and that's it. At this point, I cap my tombstones, which isn't, in my opinion, content. It's just a chore that they use to keep you subbed. So, same thing with Savage re-clears, to be honest. But I don't know. It's just been a lot of repeat. And it's funny because the next month and a half with 7.1 launch into Ultimate, into Chaotic Alliance Raid, you would think like, okay, this is the most like action-packed stretch of content for somebody who likes raiding like myself, for somebody who's strictly here for raiding, for combat. Like, why am I now having these feelings when we're just about to get so much seemingly cool stuff, right? And don't get me wrong, like I think all that content's going to be really good and it will be fun if I do it, but like at the end of the day, it's just not going to last. Like I'm going to have the same feeling at the end of next patch. You know what I mean? And it's just going to be this recurring cycle of wanting more and them just not keeping up with that, I think. Again, I'm trying to figure out how to word all this correctly, but at the start, 7.1, practically, I don't want to say nothing, but like, we've got Alliance Raid, which is Final Fantasy XI themed. I have no connection to 11, never played it, don't care, to be frank. Side tangent here, I am completely sick of them referencing old Final Fantasy games. I wish they would do something new and creative instead of just throwing in more stuff from old games at this point. I know that's something they've always done, but it's always been, you know, very subtle in the past where maybe they have a character or like a single reference, but man, it has been so heavy-handed lately with the patches in Endwalker being entirely FF4 into, what is it? Such heavy FF9 references in Dawntrail's story, and now we get an entire expansion of Alliance raids that are just strictly FF11 references. I know it's only like small portions of things that are, you know, referenced this heavily. I mean, not really. It's been the MSQ throughout Endwalker's patches into Dawntrail's main story, right? Like that's all been main story stuff. So I don't know. Side tangent. I'm kind of sick of all the just blatant references and, you know, fan service, I guess. I wish they would do something unique, but you know, I'm not that excited about the Alliance raid. To each their own. I know a lot of people out there love 11 and are super excited to see that. It's not doing it for me personally. I'm not here to convince you you're wrong about being excited for that by any means, but at the end of the day, it's an Alliance raid, right? It's going to be an hour of content the first day the patch comes out, and then that's kind of it. Like, I'll probably do it weekly for a few weeks to cap on those coins that you get that you can exchange for the gear upgrade items, but like, I don't need the gear, so it's not really necessary for me to be even doing that. So like I could just do the Alliance raid once and then never touch it again and probably be happy with that. But let's say I do it weekly, like maybe it's a 45-minute Alliance raid if we're being generous. I'm hoping it's kind of like a 40-ish minute Alliance raid, 40-minute experience every week. That'd be cool. Same with Unreal. That's kind of like a one and done for me. Like obviously that's a new weekly to do, but like Unreal is basically just an old extreme fight that's scaled up to level 100, and it's Byakko this time, which I've never done Byakko Extreme. So, you know, that's a new fight for me at least. I'll learn that prog and clear it probably within 2 hours, I would expect. And then with Unreal, you do that twice a week. So it's like, okay, you know, weekly, what's that going to be? It's going to be like, I don't know, in the past, last expansion, all my Unreal re-clears took like maybe 40 minutes every week. It's not a whole lot of replayability, in my opinion. It gets old extremely quickly. I have my gripes with Unreal. I think they should rotate in way more fights than they do to keep it fresh. They should really just go back and give the Unreal treatment to every single extreme fight and then just rotate them weekly, just randomize it. I think that would be really exciting. But no, we'll be fighting Byakko Extreme twice a week for, what is it, 4 more months before they rotate it out, likely on 7.2. So I don't know. I just find it hard getting excited about that. Maybe it has to do with the fight. I think if they did Nidhogg EX, I'd be a little bit more excited about it. But Unreal is kind of one of those things where it's like something to do each week, but it's not particularly thrilling. And again, the alliance raid is just kind of short-lived in my opinion. It'll be fun, but it's very much just like a catch-up system for casual players when it comes to the gear and the rewards that come out of there. So like, there's nothing really in it for me other than the experience the first time. And then once that's done, it's kind of like, okay, that was fun. Now what? Same with a lot of stuff, right? So we've got those. We've got the new Extreme EX3 that's coming out, and cool. Another Extreme. That fight was awesome on normal mode, but again, it's going to be like 2 hours to prog that fight, and then farming it out at whatever pace you choose to do so. All I'm saying is none of this stuff is enough to last a 4-month patch cycle, right? And obviously that's not all we're getting. We're getting Ultimate as well 2 weeks after 7.1 launch, which is like the real time sync. Like Ultimate will keep you busy for the entire patch cycle. For me personally, it's just a question of commitment at this point. Like, do I really want to be doing this or do I not? Ultimate's going to be really fun. That's like the one thing in this game that is keeping me coming back at this point. You know, the promise of new Ultimates, that prog experience, clearing, re-clearing, and farming out weapons. I've never been one to like, you know, spam ultimate re-clears and like just do them to the end of time. Like I don't know. It's always been a matter of like me being in statics and like us using slightly different strats, not wanting to jump into PF because I'd have to reprog a bunch of stuff. And like, maybe if I do this one in Party Finder, I'd have a better time with just, you know, being able to comfortably jump in and repeat it over and over again in Party Finder whenever I want to, and maybe that would make it feel more replayable. But in the past, I've never really felt a real desire to do the ultimate fights more than like, I think at most, I think I have like 7 top clears and like 4 DSR clears. I think I'm now up to like 6 T clears. I don't do it endlessly like some people do. Some people get like a ton of replayability out of that content, but for me personally, I don't think that really applies. I don't know. Maybe with this one, if I do it, I'll find that I enjoy doing that more, but because that's been my real complaint with Savage, is that it's not that replayable. The way that the gearing works, the way that the loot systems work, you're kind of decentivized from jumping in there and helping other people. Like if you get your weekly rewards out of it, like you can't help other people or you'll screw up their loot. So like I can't even spend a bunch of my time doing PF re-clears. Obviously you can with like any chest parties or whatever. But it's just inconvenient, right? The way that the loot's set up. I don't know. I'm going to go off on a bunch of tangents here and complain about everything, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect out of Ultimate this time around. I'm sure it's going to be fun, but for me, it's like, I already did top and DSR. Is this going to be a better experience than that? Or what? Like, I have no ties to Eden personally. I think, you know, fighting Knights of the Round and Thornton and Omega, thematically, way cooler for me personally, as somebody who never played any of these back in Savage when the fights came out. Even T, Alexander, was cooler thematically to me as somebody who had never done it back in the day. And Ultimate was like the first experience. Is Fru going to be more fun or harder or more rewarding to clear than Top and DSR were? More rewarding? I doubt it. Top for me was a slog, and when we finally got it done, it was like the greatest gaming experience I've ever had. So I think it's going to be hard to top that. But, oh man, I don't know. And is it going to be more difficult? I hope not, honestly. Like, I hope it's DSR level difficulty, which in turn will probably make it less rewarding than top to clear. It might be really fun. Is it, you know, as fun as T, as fun as DSR? I hope so, right? Like, don't get me wrong. It will be good content, I hope. I hope everybody who does it enjoys it. If I do it, I hope I enjoy it. I think it is the most engaging prog and combat experience you can possibly have in this game, doing Ultimate. And that's what has kept me coming back for the 4 that I've done. So, like, that's, like, the one thing I'm like, I need to do Ultimate, right? Like, I really want to do Ultimate, but do I really want to commit the time if I'm not committed to playing anything else in the game, really? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm missing out on a ton if I don't do Ultimate, I guess. Unfortunately, there is some FOMO that comes along with this, where if you don't do this stuff at the very start, it gets incrementally harder as time goes on. That might fluctuate. It might be a bit of a roller coaster, but like the launch week, the first couple of days, the first week, the first 2 weeks for Ultimate, for Savage, for Extremes, for anything, is when it's going to be most active, when the best players are in there progging the fights. Like, and if you miss out on that window, like Yoshi P and everybody else says, like, do things at your own pace, play other games, take a break. But like, if you want to do this content, you should be doing it the week that it comes out. I'm not saying you need to clear the first week, of course, but, you know, like, you want to be in there as soon as possible, making progress with the wave of everybody else trying to do so. It's just the way that you have the best time experiencing new content, if you're going to be doing it in Party Finder, at least. If you're doing it with a group, if you've got friends down the line who might want to do this stuff with you later, then sure, whatever. That's a different conversation. But for me, I'd be doing it in Party Finder, and you know, you need to be there at the start, which really prevents you from, or prevents me from, wanting to like take a break. Like, in my opinion, it's now or never for this stuff. Like, sure, I could come back later and do it again. I did that in Endwalker, right? And it was fine at the end of the day. But like, I don't know where I'm at now. It's like, I'm either doing it or I'm not. So we'll see how I feel about Ultimate. And then, of course, we have the Chaotic Alliance raids as well, which is really weird to me. We haven't even talked about this yet, but the timing of the patch cycles is so bad. Thanksgiving and Christmas. I know they're a Japanese company, but like, man, have like an ounce of awareness when you're releasing stuff. Like, you're a global game here. Like, it's so much of your audience is North America. Like, I feel like that's something they should be looking at, but whatever. Not the end of the world if you have to start a day late or whatever. Like, I won't be able to prog Ultimate day 1 because I'm doing Thanksgiving stuff, and then Chaotic Alliance raid being, I think it's Christmas Eve, right? That's just such a stupid decision. Whoever put that through is an interesting individual, I'll say. So, yeah, Chaotic, 4 weeks after Ultimate, or a month after Ultimate, whenever it is, whatever the timing, whatever the exact timing is, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like that should have been coming out with the launch of 7.1 probably, especially the way the loot's set up. You can get 730 gear, you can get that catch-up gear for Ultimate. Like, that's the only thing it's useful for. You'd think they would have that leading into Ultimate, but whatever. We'll talk about gear in a second, but Chaotic looks like it's going to be cool. This is like a new thing that we're getting. I have no idea what to expect out of it. I'm expecting the day-to-day gameplay of it to feel kind of like an extreme raid, the way that you go about it, the way that like Party Finder works, farming works, like the replayability of it is. I know you can get like a couple mounts, a couple different rewards, some gear out of it. So we'll have to see how the loot is actually structured in there and how that really ends up working. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be like farming an extreme trial at the end of the day. It might be slightly more difficult, they said, between an extreme and like a turn 1 Savage, which is fine. I don't think those two things are too far apart anyway. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know. We just don't know what to expect out of Chaotic Alliance raid yet. I think it's going to be really fun, but at the end of the day, it is a single boss fight. And if you play this game with any regularity, like, you can knock out your extreme mount farming in like 2 weeks, no problem. I think it's going to be a similar story for this. If it ends up being like a really long-term grind to get everything you want out of there, then cool, I guess, right? Like that's good. Like I wouldn't mind having something to do that, you know, lasts the entire patch cycle, right? I think that would be pretty healthy for the game, but do I expect them to do that, or do I expect them to do something more along the lines of like mount farming when it comes to like how long it takes, right? I don't know. I honestly have no idea what to expect. None of us will know until we see that system, how it works with the rewards, but I don't know. It's just one fight. How much fun is it going to be to spam that endlessly? It's going to be entertaining with 24 people in there. Don't get me wrong, but it's I don't know. Like turn 1 Savage difficulty with 24 people sounds like it'll be very funny. I expect it to be fairly lenient with the difficulty and, you know, be able to recover well and, you know, scrape your way by, I'm sure. Once everybody knows what they're doing for like reclears and everything, it's probably going to be pretty entertaining to say the least. So I'm pretty excited about that, but we'll see how it goes. My main thing is like, even if I do Ultimate, even if I do all of this new content, I think at the end of next patch, I'm still going to feel the exact same way that I do right now. And you see this in basically like every content creator. Every Twitch streamer is always complaining like, man, there's nothing to do in this game at the end of each patch cycle. It's not just me. I know a lot of people have been talking about this recently. There was that, I think, PC Gamer article talking about this, and it made everybody like talk about this topic. And honestly, that's what got me really thinking about it, thinking hard about it, and reassessing what I'm doing here. So it's just been funny watching all of that discourse happen. So I don't know. I think, again, this patch is very solid, but like, as somebody who plays this game probably an unhealthy amount, I'm going to blast through it pretty quickly. I think Ultimate might take me 2 months at most. Like, that's being generous, I think. Like, maybe it takes me a month. Maybe it takes me a month and a half. Maybe I do really well, get lucky in Party Finder, and we get through it even quicker. I'm not going to be putting in like super hardcore hours or anything. So, you know, even if it takes 3 months, at the end of that, I'm going to be done with it, right? Like, I'm not going to want to keep going beyond like 3 months for like a ton of reclears or anything. I think I'm going to feel pretty burnt out if it takes that long, right? So no matter what, like the last month of the patch is going to be like dead, for me at least, right? Like, and this is all speaking from like a Raiders perspective, like a high-end Ultimate Raiders perspective. If that's not you, if you don't do Extreme, if you don't do Savage, if you don't do Ultimate, there's nothing in this patch. Like, you have Alliance Raid, and then nothing. So unsub from the game after that, I guess. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, it feels like there's a lot, but in practice, like, we're going to burn through a lot of that really quickly. I think Ultimate's really the only thing keeping me coming back, keeping me busy if I do it. And not to mention, like, Chaotic Alliance is still like, what, a month and a half out? Man, it's just slow paced. Like, I don't know why they couldn't have released Unreal at the start of the expansion, honestly. Like, I feel like that would have been so much better, or at least at the time of like the normal raids, maybe. A couple weeks after Savage came out, like literally any time would have been better than this late into the expansion with this little to do. Like, we needed something, and I think Unreal was the answer to that. But it just moves at such a snail's pace, like, for anybody who's keeping up with the content, right? If you're still behind, this is a different conversation. If you're still going through old content that you want to do, like, enjoy it, because you will eventually run out, and you will eventually feel the way that I do about this, because it happens to everybody, I think. Maybe not as strongly as I do. Maybe you're still having fun taking things slow, but I don't know. Again, I'm not burnt out. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to have, you know, fun 50% of the time with the game that I want to play regularly, right? Like, it can't be a consistent game if it's only fun half the time before you run out of content and there's nothing to do and you're just repeating things for the habit of it, right? I don't want to get stuck into a bad habit where playing this game feels that way, right? I'm just doing it because I'm used to it. I'm just doing it because I have nothing better to do. I don't want to waste away my life doing that, right? Like, I turned 30 this year, so maybe I'm just getting old here and, you know, realizing, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this for the next 3 years into my 30s. Like, no, I'm not trying to throw any shade here. To each their own. If you're playing games at any age, enjoy it. But if you're not enjoying it, you have to really take a hard look at it and say, like, is this really what I want to be doing with my life, right? And I feel like I'm hitting that point. It's a little side tangent there. So you've heard enough about the content drought. Everybody talks about that. I think the next thing for me is just how miserable gearing is in this game. And not just how to acquire the gear, but also just how boring the gear itself is. Like, you can't have a character build in this game. There's no build variety. There's like 2 jobs that I can think of. There's like Black Mage and Samurai, which you can have like a speed build on. Outside of that, maybe some healers have a little bit of build diversity with spell speed and stuff, but like, is that really interesting? It's cool on Samurai and Black Mage having that option, being able to, like, you know, have a slightly different playstyle. Like, your rotation does change. I kind of wish every job had that at the bare minimum, but like, it's just so boring the way it is. Like, gearing just sucks. Like, the stats are uninteresting. It's literally just number go up. And that's it. Like, I have no care other than like, oh, I got a piece of gear. That's cool. Moving on. It has no impact on the gameplay at the end of the day. It makes the fights go slightly faster. It makes you take slightly less damage. And that's it. There's no variety to it. I think, like, I'm not going to make this a gearing video. We've already been there. We've done that. But I just wish, as an RPG, there was a way to have something interesting for your character, other than swapping to a different job. Obviously, if you want a different gameplay style, there are 21 jobs in this game that you can do that with. That's how they go about it. But like, if you main a job, that was mellow. Yeah, if you main any job in this game, it's just kind of exhausting how limiting the options are. I wish they would have some like materia system like from FF7, decorations from Monster Hunter, you know, set skills for having like a gear set that gives like a set bonus, right? I don't know. I think of like Dark Souls, and there are like rings that give different buffs and abilities, and there's just so many options, so many ways they could go with it. It would take some work to fit it into this game, but like, man, they need to do something, because it is just so tiring week after week just trying to get your item level up for like no variation. It's just not fun, in my opinion. I don't know. As an RPG, it is failing in that regard, in my opinion. The gearing side of things is just really lame. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. And we're not even going to get into tomestones, because don't get me started. Just make tomestones faster. Problem solved. I don't hate the system. It's so slow, just like everything else. A lot of the, like, people say this game respects your time, but the more and more I've played it, it feels like it's trying to milk you out of your monthly sub with a lot of its systems, whether that be savagery clears, tome farming, or I guess that's really it. But like, I don't know, the snail's pace that patches come out as well. It's just tiring. I wish there was more interesting gear. Again, the variety comes from the jobs, but job design is the other thing I want to talk about in this side of things, where I think it has been underwhelming and uninspired, this expansion across all of the jobs. We hit level 100 in Dawn Trail. That's such a milestone, in my opinion. Like, that should be like such a moment when you hit level 100 on a job. It should feel impactful. It should feel cool. I leveled all these jobs, and I hit level 100 on all of them and just didn't really feel anything. I don't think it was executed well. There are some that are really good. I think Monk is a prime example of this, where a lot of the new abilities feel really cool. Finally got some range, whatever. But so many of the other jobs like just got an extra finisher. They got an extra button tacked on at the end of their combo. It's just so underwhelming on so many fronts. So many of like a bunch of the jobs, I'll say, feel worse than their Endwalker counterparts. We took a step backwards when it comes to Dark Knight, when it comes to Black Mage. When it comes to Summoner, the job design, not so much. It's pretty much the same as it was, but it's just so much more disappointing than it was in Endwalker. Pictomancer, great new job. Viper, loved by a ton of people. I don't particularly like it myself, but I see that a lot of people do. Dragoon, I think, maybe took a step backwards from where it used to be. And a lot of the other ones are kind of just whatever. They kind of feel like Endwalker 2.0. You get an extra button, but the job doesn't really feel any more impactful, any more interesting or innovative than it did last expansion. And it's fine. They all play well, give or take a few, right? But I just had higher hopes this expansion for job design. And Yoshi P says it's coming in 8.0. Yippee. Wait 2 more years. Maybe then it'll be better. Maybe not. And then you'll have to wait until 9.0, right? So it just feels like we're getting kind of strung along with a lot of the job design changes, updates, balance patches. Balance is another side of this topic that, man, it takes way too long. It should not take 4 months to balance the jobs. That's insane to me. It is unacceptable in every regard. The prime example of this is Summoner. Summoner has been broken, outright broken. The devs acknowledged this months ago. When you go to summon your summons, they don't do as much potency as they should. Okay, not like a big game-breaking thing, but it's like, I think it's like 50 potency per summon. You get 3 per minute, so it's like 150 potency a minute. Whatever, not a huge deal. Unfortunately, Summoner is one of the worst balanced jobs at the minute, doing the least damage. So that, in combination with it just being broken, not working as intended, and the devs outright saying we're not going to fix it until 7.1, this was months ago. If I was a Summoner main, I would be upset. A lot of people have swapped off of Summoner. Nobody at the high level is playing this job. Like, it's been pretty dead lately. And like, I just don't see why they couldn't have fixed that sooner, why they can't balance things sooner. I feel like at the bare minimum, they need to be doing balance adjustments on like a monthly basis. I get that their spaghetti code on the back end probably doesn't accommodate this very well, but like, realistically, how long does it take to go in and tweak some potency numbers? Like, I get they probably have to take the game down for maintenance because they probably can't hotfix all that stuff. But it's like, man, do that once a month. Like, I don't care if the game goes down for 4 hours on a Monday night at midnight, once a month for the jobs to like be balanced, right? Like, make a better attempt. In my opinion, it has been frustrating to say the least to just see how slow this has moved. Like, why, like, I don't know. Maybe they're just oblivious as well. That's a possibility, but I'm sure we'll see the appropriate buffs and adjustments come along in 7.1. So it really is just a matter of like, why is this taking so long? I don't know. Dark Knight, Black Mage, those are 2 other ones that there has been like dramatic community outcry. I know we're getting some Black Mage changes. We actually saw that they're getting like 2 charges of ley lines in 7.1. We saw that in some of the preview builds that Yoshi P was playing, I believe. I haven't been keeping up on the news with this game. I haven't been interested at all. But I did see that. So I don't know if we've heard about any other jobs, about any other adjustments. I'm pretty sure it was just that, though, because we saw it in the preview gameplay. But like, man, Dark Knight needed some adjustments months ago. Black Mage, same deal. Machinist needed buffs months ago. Other jobs could have been tweaked. Like, I don't even care. They can paint with such broad strokes here. Like, they could just go in and say like, oh, Machinist is slightly underperforming. Give Drill a 50 potency buff. Like, see what happens, right? Like, see where we're at. Like, you don't have to think it out. You don't need to like run the simulations and like see how this affects every last thing. But like, if the community knows that something's underperforming, the devs should be able to just jump in there in my opinion, and like make those changes very quickly. Like when Pictomancer was so insanely OP at the start of the expansion, and it still is, like, just nerf it a little bit, see what happens, right? Like, side tangent again, but again, this is just a rant about literally everything that's been bugging me, so this is going to go on and on. These changes all do come eventually. They do balance things well, but I don't know why it takes 4 months, and it's frustrating. It feels like we're not being heard or listened to in a timely manner, when, again, this is a game that we pay for on a monthly basis. I don't remember paying for this game every 4 months when a patch comes out. Honestly, that feels like a better structure. I'd rather pay for like DLC every 4 months at this rate, right? Because, man, the sub cost, that's another topic, but it has not felt worth the money for what we're getting lately. I think that'll change as we go through the patches. I think that was just like the initial launch cycle, but yeah, like obviously with Ultimate, that's going to feel different, but it's just been rough, right? We'll get to that a bit later. I've got my notes on the side here, so if you see me looking over there, that's why. I think a lot of this slow pace all comes down to the budget. And you hear this time and time again in every PR response you get out of Yoshi P, in every interview, in every live letter, every time he answers a question from anybody. It always comes back to the budget. And this game, I guarantee you, makes a lot of money. You hear it time and again that like this is one of Square Enix's biggest money makers. I've never looked at the numbers. I frankly don't care. It's not my problem. But like, I can see that this game is making them a lot of money, and it doesn't feel like it gets reinvested, and that feels bad as somebody who's supporting it every month. When it feels like your money's not going at all back into the game, you feel like you're getting scammed a little bit, or at least I do. Every time that Yoshi P brings up why they can't do something, it's because they don't have the resources to do so. It's because they don't have the budget. I get it's not as simple as just throw in more cash at it, right? You've got to hire people. You've got to get the resources, the actual devs on board who can do this stuff. But man, is it really that hard? Like, I feel like they should be able to do that one way or another to at least get such basic stuff done, like balance patches and like other things that we've been asking for so long. These are the devs that said, you know, oh, we'll be getting ultimate weapons at some point for all the new jobs. And, you know, like, I know that's allegedly happening for at least the new ones. And there's that. There's like the fact that 5 years after Vieira and Hrothgar came out, I still can't wear a hat. Like, oh, come on, man. Modders have been able to figure this stuff out like so quickly. It's clearly just like they either don't care or they really just have such a tight budget. And it's clearly just like Square Enix is such a greedy corporation that makes terrible business decision, invests in NFTs and whatever else they decide to do with their business strategy. And it's clearly not going back into this game. It's going into whatever, lining their pockets, funding every other flop that they've had over the past few years. Obviously 16 and 7 Rebirth, cool games, right? And those obviously took a huge chunk of the budget from this game, in my opinion. Like, where else is the budget going if not to those? So, like, clearly there's, you know, they redirect some of the income from this game to other places, or they just don't put it back in this game. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it's pretty apparent when every time Yoshi P comes on and says, we don't have the resources to do this. Again, that's a problem they've got to figure out, but it, like, as a long-term player of this game, you feel it. And when it comes up in every single interview, every single live letter, every time that they do any type of coverage on the game, it always just comes back to the budget. And I think that's just Square Enix's fault. I don't fault the devs themselves for that. There's nothing they can do when you're working for Square Enix with the business decisions that they make, but it doesn't feel good as a player to just have that as the excuse every time when they say they can't do something, or when the game doesn't feel as complete as it should. at the end of the day, it just doesn't feel like they're working hard to provide value for us as the players. And that's just been getting on my nerves lately. It's like when there is a lack of content, when there are a lack of updates, when there's a lack of communication as well. Because you can say that they communicate things well, they do the live letters and all, which is just their way of announcing new content. But like, I don't know. I feel like they don't do a good job when it comes to communication, when it comes to like balance and adjustments. Maybe they listen to feedback. Again, they're a Japanese company, so maybe they're not listening to the North American audience very much. Maybe they communicate better with the Japanese audience. I have no idea. But they certainly don't seem like they communicate with us as well as they could. I don't know. For the cost of the monthly sub, it's just like, there's other stuff you could be playing. Yoshi P tells you, go play other games. And it's been convincing me to consider, am I getting my money's worth here, right? I don't know. I'm just checking my notes here. I'm sorry. There's so much here. I wrote out like 6 pages of bullet points on all of this. I'm trying not to go over every last thing. I feel like they made some weird decisions with the budget last expansion coming into this one as well. The 2 big things are the trust system as well as the graphics update. These are the 2 things that it always came back to whenever they did live letters or whatever. They spent so much time talking about these 2 things. Like, the trusts are cool. Both of these are like good additions to the game, right? But with how much energy they spent explaining the graphics update and like just reiterating on every last detail of it, like, it must have taken them so much effort. And the game looks good, don't get me wrong, but it has not improved my enjoyment of the game. So they spent so much time and effort on the graphics update, and in my opinion, it's like a 10-15% improvement over what it used to be. It's not drastic. It's kind of just a shiny coat of paint. Everything looks a little sharper. Everything looks better, don't get me wrong. Like, it does look better, but like, I don't know. When I'm zoomed out like this hitting a boss, do I really care? Absolutely not. This might be a hot take, but the graphics update, they had to do it at some point. But when you're on such limited budget, does the graphics update come at a cost of all of the other content that we could have been getting throughout the end of Endwalker into the start of Dawntrail? I really don't know the answer to that. The trusts are another thing. It's great for like new players and people who are coming into the game. I can see why the trust systems and the duty support systems, where you can go through all the story dungeons with a party of NPCs, why that's appealing to the Final Fantasy fan base as a traditionally single-player RPG game. Being able to play this game and go through up until Endwalker's story, at least, where I think people should stop caring. It's really nice to be able to do that as a single-player experience. And, you know, by the end of that, people might branch out into other aspects of the game and get more invested into the multiplayer MMO aspect of the game, right? Because so much of it is just story-focused when you're a new player that, like, by the time you get done with the story, you might explore some other stuff. So I think that is, like, actually a good investment on the amount of time and effort that they put into it last expansion, but it really just has me questioning, like, is it worth bringing on new players, or is it worth keeping your existing players engaged? And I feel like they haven't done enough to keep those existing players engaged comparatively between, you know, the end of Endwalker into the launch of Dawntrail. So we'll see how that plays out, I guess. I know Dawntrail is supposed to be one of the most content-packed expansions, but we'll see how it plays out, I guess. So, I don't know. It just feels like the budgeting thing is such a... I don't know. They're just raining on our parade with that. I don't know how else to put it. It's just the unfortunate truth, I guess, where they really do just have such limited resources, and I chalk it up to being Square Enix's fault, most likely. I don't know the details. I don't know their accounting, right? But it just feels bad supporting it. day after day, every single month paying your sub and seeing such little returns on it, in my opinion. So I just want to go back and talk about the value for the monthly sub thing again, because it's the business model they chose, right? This is a monthly paid subscription service game. So does it feel like you're getting your money's worth every month? I know a lot of people feel like they might not be, and that's when you just unsubscribe, right? Like, that's the easy solution. Yoshi P has said it a million times, which in my opinion is such such weird marketing for your game. If you like want to retain players and like have people invested in your game, like why are you telling them to quit the game, right? Because that's what happens when you unsub, pretty much. Like, people do take breaks, of course, but like you're so much more likely to just not pick it back up if you actually take the time to unsub. I'm at a point where like I've got my house in the game. If I unsub, I lose my house, which I've got like 10 million gil and hours of time sunk into decorating it. But like I'm at the point where like I don't really care anymore. I don't use my house in game that much. I'm not gonna let that hold me to this game. It's not worth it. If you're not having fun in the game, you're probably not having fun owning a house in the game, right? If the house is worth it to you, you're probably having friends hang out there regularly and it's not even a question to you, right? Like, but if you're just hanging on to it for the sake of hanging on to it, like I am, I hardly ever go there. It's like, that should not be a consideration in whether or not I take a break from the game, right? I don't think there would ever be a time where I'm sitting there like not playing the game and I'm like, damn, I miss my FF14 house, right? Or if I came back to the game after a break and didn't have my house, like the first thing I would do isn't go sit in my house. It would be like going and playing the new content that I missed out on, right? So it's like, that's like one of the main excuses I hear from people why they don't want to take a break or like pause their sub or anything. And I get it. It sucks if you're like, I would rather not play for like 2 months, but like I'll be back for sure. You can't do that if you have a house, right? Like you just need to pay your monthly rent on that house, which is the sub cost. And for me, the sub cost of this game really isn't bad. I think I pay like $15 a month for whatever extra charges are thrown in there. I forget. I know it varies a little bit. You can have a slightly cheaper one or more expensive one if you've got a bunch of retainers or whatever. And I would be perfectly happy paying more than I do every month for this game if it had more, like, more content, more, more feedback from the devs, more support from the devs with updates and everything. Like, I don't know, like, going back to the budget, like, man, there just has to be so many more ways that they could even monetize the game with more stuff on the Mog Station. Like, the Mog Station is such a pile of gold that they're sitting on. Like, as somebody in marketing, there are just infinite ways that they could make more money on the Mog Station if that's like, if they're really strapped for cash and it's not a budgeting issue from Square Enix. Like, man, they could be throwing up like different like weapon skins, VFX mod packs, like just all sorts of stuff. More emotes, more mounts, more of everything on the Mog Station would sell, right? Like they could make some money. Like if it means we get more content, by all means, or just by all means, please put that stuff up, Yoshi P. I don't care anymore if it means that we get more out of the game, right? I would personally love to unsub from this game. I've never done it myself. I have never canceled my sub for over 3 years of playing this game. Again, the money is whatever. It's, you know, a monthly cost. It's a subscription. It's just another one that we all have in the modern age, right? I don't really think about it. It's just automatically rebilling. But, like, if I wanted to take a break, I'm not really in a great position to do so now with the YouTube channel and the Twitch stream and everything. I've kind of gotten myself stuck. This is very much personal to me. It's a me issue, but like, if I want to continue on with the YouTube channel and the Twitch stream, consistency is super important, right? Like I need to be doing this multiple times per week, but I have been really struggling in that regard as well. And it really just comes down to like a lack of things to do. I don't want to get on stream and just grind out Ultimate every single day. At least, 2-year-old Ultimates at this point. 2+ year old, whatever it may be. If I'm doing old legacy stuff. Again, when the new content comes out, it will be much more exciting on my end to get on stream, do that new stuff, prog the new fights, farm out Extreme, farm out Unreal every week, potentially prog Ultimate if I decide to go down that route. But like, I just haven't wanted to make YouTube videos. You've probably seen a severe lack of videos over the past month on the channel here. I apologize for that. But like, I just couldn't bring myself to put in the work to make a video. This whole channel was always meant to just be a fun side thing and a way to improve my enjoyment of the game. Because I went into this thinking, like, if I'm going to play this game for another expansion, another 3 years or so, do I want to be in the same exact place at the end of that? And the answer was no. So my solution to that was to start this channel, YouTube and Twitch. When I say channel, I'm referring to both. Just to come out on the other side with a community, potentially making a couple bucks every month. I never expected it to be a whole lot, right? Like, this is just a fun thing. I have a decent job that I work. I'm not really worried about the money and making this like a full-time career or anything. If I was trying to make YouTube a career, I would never start with Final Fantasy. I think that's a horrible decision. You can obviously make it work, but you got to be really creative, really entertaining, or both. Obviously, there are streamers and YouTubers out there doing a great job in this game. And props to you guys, because, man, I don't know that I want to be that person. Again, this was always just meant to be like a fun little hobby to me, an addition to the game. So if I'm not having fun with the game, I am most definitely not having fun putting in the work to make YouTube videos for it. YouTube and streaming, I've come to realize, are two very separate things, where streaming is super easy, no effort involved. It's basically just playing the game, right? You log on, you play the game. You do got to be on a little bit, right? Talking to people, reading chat. It's a little bit more mentally tiring than just playing the game off stream, of course, right? So there is a little bit more to it, but you don't have to, it doesn't feel like work compared to YouTube, where YouTube, you have to like come up with a video concept, somewhat scripted out. I don't really do that. I just put a bunch of bullet points, get on camera, talk for way too long, as I do, edit it, publish it, make a thumbnail, post it, read comments. It's like a process, right? It's more akin to work than Twitch is. It is work. And like, for the amount of money, it is such a poorly paying job. Again, I don't do this full time or anything, but like, the time investment to return ratio here for YouTube is so bad that it's like, man, I should just go work an extra hour at my job and I would be making way more than I do for like the 10 hours that I have to spend on a YouTube video, right? And it's been surprising. Like, the YouTube channel has made money, right? Like, you guys have been awesome watching the videos. The ad revenue has been surprisingly good, which is cool and all, but it's not like enough where like it's supporting me in any way, which is fine. I don't expect it to. Again, this is like a tangent, but it's very relevant to my decision as to whether or not I want to continue down this road, right? The money side of things, like, I do believe that it could eventually be a full-time income if you put in the work, if you grind it out. By all accounts, I believe I've been doing this for like 6 months or so now. I forget exactly. Maybe slightly longer even now. I think I started in like April, maybe. March or April. End of March, early April. So I've been doing this for a little while now, but by all accounts, it has been a massive success starting this. Like, our Discord community is up over 500 members. YouTube's up over 6,000 subs, all just grown completely naturally from scratch. Twitch, we have a very consistent viewer base with, a lot of people hanging out in chat who are really cool, and I love hanging out with you guys. Same thing with everybody in Discord. Like, if I were to quit the game right now, those are like the two things that are holding me back the most. Just kind of feeling like I've built up this community. I know it's really not that serious, right? Like, I'm not like disappointing anybody drastically, but at the same time, I do feel like I am, right? It's kind of hard to escape that if I were to just pack up and quit one day, right? So I don't really know how I would want to go about that if I do get to that point, but creating content for 14, it's just not a good game to be doing. So there are so many better options out there if you want to get into content creation for video games. If you're getting into 14, it's because you love the game, right? It's because you love playing the game. You don't really want to play any other games. And that's really reflected in the viewer base as well. Like, if you try to play a different game on Twitch as a 14 streamer, it's like, yeah, there's like such a small fraction of the people that show up compared to when you're playing 14, when interesting content is going on. You also see a drop in the viewer base and just general interest in 14, like when the content starts dying out. It seems like it started ramping up in the past week or two with 7.1 right around the corner. It seems like people are getting back into it, interested again, but I don't know. I've been kind of taking a break these past few weeks because I just can't get around to being excited about the game. I just don't have that hype. So I feel like if I'm making content in this state, it's going to reflect that way as well. I can't get excited about it. I can't make great quality stuff. I can't get on stream and be like super hype. I'm not in like a bad mental state about this or anything. Like, I'm not like going through anything here, right? Like, my life is in a good situation. I'm in a chill spot where like, this is just a hobby for me. I've got plenty of other hobbies. Like, I could drop this and be just as happy tomorrow if I did. And it's an interesting spot too, because like, ever since I started playing this game, I really do feel like it has sucked up so much of my life, for better or worse. There was definitely a period where I felt that where I felt that the game sucking up all of my time was like genuinely worth it. Like, this game was so much fun and so good that like, I didn't care that I was neglecting other aspects of my life. That's obviously not healthy, right? But I don't feel like it's worth it anymore. I feel like I am wasting my time more so now than I ever have. By playing this game, I feel like this is maybe, like, I'm not trying to like call anybody out. If you feel differently, then good. Enjoy the game, play it. I'm not trying to like give anybody a hard time for enjoying the game or playing the game. But for me personally, I feel like there's just other stuff in my life that like I could be doing, right? So it's kind of like a trade, right? Do I spend time investing it into this game, supporting this company, which I'm not super fond of? I think Square Enix and the CBU3 team have lost a lot of good graces from me specifically. I am not on their, or they're not on my good side, we'll say. So I'm just finding it harder to support them as a company, as devs. I'm finding it harder to be excited about the game. And I don't know, I'm trying to see what else I'm missing here, because I have so many bullet points here, but I'm trying to skip over some of the less important ones where I'm just really complaining. I was pissed when I wrote some of this stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The content creation side of things, it's been super fun. It could continue to grow if I put in the effort, but I'm just not sure that I'm willing to put in that effort into a game that I don't fully have faith in. You know what I mean? Like, do I really want to invest time trying to grow this into a career that really pigeonholes me into this one game? Of course, you can do things to branch out, but like, it would be better to start sooner going into like more of a variety direction with streaming and YouTube, if that's something I feel like that is necessary. I think you get a lot of the big streamers and content creators in this game specifically who definitely see this and feel this way too, where, you know, they're just kind of stuck playing this game at this point and they would like to play other stuff, but it's just tough because that's just what they're known for at this point, right? and you see so many people getting burnt out, just having a bad time with a lot of these slower points of the patch cycles. And I'm not convinced that I want to be that person who's sitting there, you know, having, like, this is, again, my first experience with this, where it's been like at a real like low point in this game for me. It's been like, I've had so much fun every step along the way up until now. Maybe it's just hitting me for the first time, but I just know it's going to happen time and time again moving forward. And do I really want to commit to that? Do I want to make that the next 2 years of my life, where every few months I'm just not having fun with what I'm doing and kind of stuck doing it? Do I really want to go down that road? That's the question. That's where I'm at right now. Yeah, I don't know. I massively appreciate everybody who has stuck around for this journey so far with this channel. If you've subbed on YouTube, left a comment, watched a video, thank you. If you've hung out in Twitch chat, if you've subscribed over there, massive thank you to anybody who has monetarily supported me. That's huge. But even just watching the videos here helps me out a ton. Makes it incrementally worth doing this. Having a couple of bucks in my pocket every month, has felt good, I guess. So, that's not a bad thing. But I do feel bad if I were to quit and just, having built up a really cool community, especially over on Discord. Everybody over there, like, I wouldn't know what to do with Discord. I hardly post over there anyway. I'm not the most active. I should do more, but I'm an introvert, so it is what it is, right? People hang out in there, people talk, and I'm always happy to talk to people, but again, I just haven't had a whole lot of thoughts about the game. Nothing super relevant going on at the minute, so it's just been like, okay, even that feels slow, but huge thanks to everybody who has joined the Discord as well. Massive shout out to all you guys, all the regulars who come by stream, hang out in Discord, and just have supported me over the months. It's been a really fun journey, to say the least. Even if I do come to the conclusion that I want to stop, it is what it is. And, maybe it's just a break. Maybe I don't quit entirely. Maybe I just take a few months off and come back to it at the end of the expansion when, when things are interesting again. And man, there's like one other thing. So many people say Dawntrail is the start of a 10-year journey. And what's funny is with Endwalker, I started the game at the end of that 10-year journey, and it was an incredible experience. So who knows, maybe Dawntrail is the time to step away from this game, come back, see where it's at 10 years from now, right? It could be, if it's that good of an experience again 10 years from now, like maybe that's the way to do it, right? I don't know. It might be better to play this game every few years than on an ongoing basis at the pace that it's going, for all the highs and lows that you get along the way. It was a really good experience as somebody coming to the game fresh at the start of Endwalker. So if you're on the fence whether you want to take a break from the game or not, I would say there's no harm in it, because, if this expansion, if next expansion, if this story arc, however long that takes, turns out to be as good as Endwalker, ARR to Endwalker, jumping back into the game 5-10 years from now might not be so bad of a call, right? I don't know. This has been a long one. I'm going to try to wrap up here. Let me see what else I got. All right, so I don't know what to say. I'm going to be streaming 7.1 the day it releases. I probably won't be focusing too heavily on the story. They've honestly lost me at this point with that, so I'll skim through it. If anything interesting's happening, I'll pay attention. I'm not going to like flat out skip it all, but I will speed through it just to try to get get it over with. If that first quest says speak with Wook Lamont at the start of 7.1, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm waiting for it though. So we've got that. We've got Alliance Raid. I'll be streaming the Alliance Raid day one probably. I'll probably jump into Extreme. And again, if that Extreme, man, if we get the cutscene in there, if Wook Lamont bursts through the ceiling and screams Speen, I am going to lose my mind, and maybe I'll just uninstall live on stream, but we'll see what happens. If I have to farm that out 50 times and watch that cutscene every time, I can tell you at the least voices are getting muted. But I don't know. Hopefully it's fun, right? What else? Yeah, I'll just see how it goes. We'll see how it takes us. If 7.1 shapes up to be the most fun thing in the world, then, you know, maybe I'll give Ultimate a shot. It sounds like I've already made a decision here, and I'm definitely leaning leaning towards throwing in the towel, to be honest with you. But we'll see. If I get back into the swing of things, start having a lot of fun, I am hopelessly addicted to this game, just like everybody else. So there's a very real possibility that none of this happens, then I just keep playing as always. And maybe moving forward, I just take more time for myself. Don't worry as much about creating YouTube videos, about streaming. I know I haven't been doing much of that recently anyway, but I do feel the stress to, you know, ideally weekly have a video come out, which I did for a while. Maybe it's just the content creation stuff that's been more stressful than it's worth for me personally. I don't know. Maybe we figure that out moving forward if I do continue on with the game. But let me know how you're feeling about this. Let me know how excited you are for 7.1 and the rest of the expansion, if you are at all. If not, let me know if you're going through a lot of these same feelings that I am here. I know a lot of my friends have taken quite long breaks from the game and are not coming back for 7.1, so I don't think I have a very unique opinion here, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know if I'm way off base on some of this stuff, I guess. Maybe talk me down from the ledge here, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think after the past few days going through this thought process and this experiment, trying to figure out how I would feel one way or the other, I think I'm definitely still leaning away from the game, to be honest with you. So I don't know. We'll see how it is. We'll have fun with the next, at least first week of 7.1, and I'll reassess then and see how I'm feeling about diving back into Ultimate and realistically putting myself through the hell that is Ultimate Prague in Party Finder. That could either be super fun and entertaining or just a nightmarish experience that I'd be better off avoiding, to be honest with you. So I could go outside. I could touch grass. I've recently gotten back into running. I ran like 3 5Ks last week. I've been enjoying life. I want to get back into music production. Maybe I do some of that on stream. Maybe I make some fun videos about that. I don't know if it would be here on this channel or not, but, you know, I'm not going to vanish one way or another, but YouTube is something that I've always done for, I don't know, 15 years now in different forms. So I'm sure even if I quit this game, maybe I'll find something else to do. I've yet to figure out what that might be, but, you know, maybe we just branch out into some other more fun stuff that I enjoy during the downtime as well. So it is what it is. It's been a fun ride. I will certainly make another video if I do come to any definitive conclusion after next week, but come hang out on stream for 7.1's launch if you're interested in doing so. And hopefully I'll see you there. Till then, have a good one. Hopefully I didn't bum you out too much here. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.